Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the last edition of ESO Weekly. I can see you all in the chat right now. I see a bunch of crying faces, but I see smiley faces too. That's good. It pretty much sums up our feelings about this as well, right, Kyle? We're happy because a new adventure will be starting for us past ESO Weekly, but we're also sad too because we've been doing this for a year.
God, and it's felt like 5, I have to say. Has it really only been a year? Are you sure it's only been a year?
It's only been a year.
Okay, well, it has been definitely been a good trip. We've learned a lot in that year, growing from, what were we, like around 20,000 subs at the time of starting ESO Weekly, and now we're almost 10 times that amount. So, yeah, good trip, but I'm glad we're seeing its destination.
Yeah, right. You talk about this game for as long as we have, and you start having dreams about it and nightmares, and it's always on your mind, and it's hard to shake. But yeah, it's been a long, very nerdy-filled journey, but it's been a lot of fun as well. If I could ask everyone just to let us know if the audio levels are all good. I see some people are saying that my video's a little blurry. That's just something we gotta deal with, you know. It's technology, so. But as long as you can hear us and our sound levels are good, I think we can all get through this together.
Indeed. So how are we going to do things? We'll talk a little bit about things that have happened this week, just really short, but then we really want to just base this show on it being a community event. So we will have a link that our moderator, Grey Wolves, he's listed as in the chat. He will be sending PMs to specific people that we choose. That will then be allowed to join the call and ask us questions or talk to us, give us comments, whatever they want to do, within reason, of course. And yeah, that's kind of how we're going to do things.
Yeah, it's a very, very odd episode for us today. We're going to be doing things we don't normally do, but you know, if you don't go out with a bang, what's the point? So hopefully you guys will bear with us through all the technical crap.
Which there will be a lot of.
Which there will be plenty of, yes. All right. So what are we starting with? Are we starting with, there was some news you wanted to get out of the way before we, you know, just sit back and talk ESO?
Yeah, earlier today they had released this article, the Early Access FAQ, which basically just gave a rundown of the times that we kind of needed to know and the dates for early access and launch and that kind of stuff. So early access actually begins at 7 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Sunday the 30th. Now, originally I was thinking it would be like at midnight going into the 31st, but it's actually going to be the morning of the 30th Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, keep that one in mind. And then the actual launch date of 4/4/14 in America will actually be 4/3/13 starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. So those are two things. And also they said that that last one, the launch time, would actually be subject to change, so keep that in mind. And of course, you can even now start downloading the client if you haven't already. If you've been in beta, all you have to do is patch the latest build, and that will give you the NA or EU server to play on. If you have not participated in the beta, you will be able to go ahead and download the launcher and thus the client starting on the 27th. So those are pretty much just the dates I wanted to get out of the way. Now there's other news if we wanted to get into it while we're looking for a person to talk to. If you want to do it that way.
Sure, yeah, anything. So let me get this straight real quick though before we move on. There's not going to be an exact like midnight release of this game then?
No midnight releases. I mean, sure, okay. Somewhere in the world it'll be midnight, but in America, no.
So what about the people who are picking up physical copies of the game? They're going to their GameStop or whatever and picking up a physical copy. Are they getting emailed to download the client early on or something? I have no clue. I don't know. That's up to them. They didn't say anything, so. Interesting.
I assume
Kyle,
they have an email.
You should know these things.
Well, you know what? I don't run a GameStop, so I don't know.
All right. So what was the other thing you wanted to get out?
Well, we got to figure out how we're going to choose people that want to talk to us, I guess. How are we going to choose that?
I have no idea. Who wants to talk to us? Raise your hand. No, don't do that. A riddle. I don't even know how I would want to do a riddle or something.
I don't know. The first person that answers which city we live in Florida. How about that?
You know, before we do that, before we start bringing people into the call, because I feel like after we start doing that, it's going to become madness. Let's just take some regular questions from the chat, just in the form of text questions. So maybe we can bang out a couple questions, maybe in the next 15, 30 minutes or so. And so get a lot of audience participation before we go and, start taking separate calls and stuff. So if anyone has a question, now would be the time to ask. The question can pertain, let's try to keep it. This is still ESO Weekly, so let's try to keep it to Elder Scrolls Online related stuff. So none of this, Kyle, what's your favorite sandwich? None of that stuff. Just Elder Scrolls Online questions. And no, favorite color is not an Elder Scrolls Online question.
Well, we got plenty of questions coming in. Let's see. What's your current plans for the channel? How about that one?
Our current plans for the channel?
Yeah.
Lore. All right, next question.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, there was that big thing where we were like, okay, we're ending ESO Weekly, but you guys might want a podcast from us. That's what we brought up in the previous episode, right?
Yes.
And we told you guys to leave your comments down in the comment section below. And it was overwhelmingly, yeah, you guys should do a podcast, which I was kind of expecting. I wasn't expecting, like, no, screw you guys. If you're not talking Elder Scrolls, then get out of my life. So that's good. Kyle, I think we're going to be doing that, correct? We're going to be doing a ShoddyCast podcast.
Yeah, a few of you might have even noticed I was messing around with tests and stuff, trying to get programs to work with the podcast that would then upload it to a FeedBurner site, which then people could use that site to then subscribe via iTunes or whatever kind of player they use. So we're pretty much set up to do that, maybe. I mean, we won't really know until we actually do our first episode, but that's definitely something we want to do, and it would be very gaming centric, but it wouldn't be just Elder Scrolls. It would be any games we want to, pretty much anything we want to talk about that week, we will talk about that week.
Yeah, I anticipate the first couple episodes especially are going to be very Elder Scrolls Online focused, just because that'll be the game we're playing at the time. But I'm thinking we would launch this not next week, but the week after that. You know what I mean? Next week, I think, is a religious holiday for all of us. We should be doing nothing. We shouldn't even be opening YouTube. Screw it. No. Everyone should be in the Elder Scrolls Online and playing that game for that first week. And then after that, that's when we would start our podcast and continue on with that. But the big question is, Kyle,
yes,
what will we call it? What will we call it?
I know someone suggested Shoddy Pod.
That's the one I saw too, and that's the one that really clicked with me kind of immediately. It's like, oh, the Shoddy Pod.
But isn't ShoddyCast already a name for a podcast? Like, it's already a name, so shouldn't it just be called ShoddyCast? I don't know. These are the real questions in life. This is what we really should be asking ourselves. Well, I know the Yogscast has the Yogs Pod or something like that. And so they run a podcast that they just don't call Yogscast, although it falls under the Yogscast branding or something like that. Basically, what I'm saying is that we're like the Yogscast in popularity as well. Okay.
You're not going to call bullshit on that?
No, I'm trying to look through the chat for questions, but it's scrolling by so fast that I can't even read them. I know, it's going so quickly. I'll tell you what, I did read one a little while ago. Go for it. How much do you plan on playing ESO in the first week? Was one of the questions I read. Well, let's just say long enough that there's definitely a risk of getting a blood clot in my leg, which could then travel to my heart, so I do need to watch out for that and make sure I get up at least every hour and walk around. But a lot. Yeah. For like the first week, yeah, a lot. And then a lot of that time, I know personally I'll be streaming most of it. So it's going to be a lot. Like more than I want to admit.
you're gonna slap on the diaper and
Not
just
not that
stay
far,
there.
but I will definitely have several boxes of assortments of crackers that I will have and then be able to eat, and they'll be at easy reach, so I don't have to get up.
Yeah,
The only time I'll
this will be
get up
fun.
is to get a cold drink from the fridge if I'm tired of my warm ones.
I was about to say that this is the perfect time to get that mini fridge that you always wanted.
That's true. I have wanted a mini fridge, but
I'm telling you.
only if ShoddyCast pays for it because I'm broke.
Yeah, I'm the same with you. I don't know. I plan on definitely playing it a lot. I mean, I don't plan on leaving my chair, at least for that first day, especially. I mean, when Skyrim released, for example, like the perfect gaming launch for me is where I'm picking up the game, preferably at a midnight release, coming home. I have a box of Cheez-Its set out. I have a couple candles lit to set the mood for myself,
Incense.
and it. Don't say it. I know what you're about to say, but don't say it. And yeah, just me, the game, and just us lovers there
How often will you
together.
empty your pee bottle?
That's the thing. I go for the diaper route, like I
Okay.
mentioned.
A,
I was just
a
hoping I wasn't
colostomy
the
bag,
only
or
one.
however you pronounce that.
Yeah, yeah.
That might hurt.
All right, so
though, too.
I have another question here from Payat562. What races/builds will you be playing in the Elder Scrolls Online?
Okay, well, you'll be, and it changes about every few days or so. I recently experimented and I streamed this with the Sorcerer Bow, which I had been playing around with quite frequently. But I've been using two pets, so because of that, I can't use much magicka after that because that kind of takes you down 20% of your magicka right there. Um, and I didn't really have any, like, I wouldn't have any attacking builds strictly. Like, I would just have buffs and then the two pets. And it actually sort of worked in there. I was surprised at how well it did during the stream. I would have to say, though, I'm going to start out as a sorcerer with a greatsword. And that'll definitely be
Okay.
one of the builds that I stick with. But the second one is going to be probably some form of bow build.
All right, so for your sorcerer combo, you're doing a sorcerer with a staff, and then his weapon swap being a two-handed sword
No, two-handed sword and a bow.
and a
No,
bow.
no staff.
Okay, no
Stabs.
just your okay. So you want to use your sorcerer class basically as your spells right there, so you don't even need a staff. You're
Yeah,
just firing off.
I'll barely be using spells though. That's the funny thing. It'll be mostly buff. It's going to be a really weird build because it's going to be mostly buffs, and I'm going to be relying on just weapon damage, pure weapon damage. The only other abilities I'll have are probably more crowd control abilities, and that's it. So it's going to be a strange build, but it's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to be pretty devastating. And also for the race, I'm still torn, but I'm probably going to say Bosmer. But it's between Bosmer and Altmer. So how about you?
Me, I'm still gonna stick with the same old boring thing I said, which was the guy in heavy armor casting spells, your classic battle mage scenario. It's how I played Oblivion, my first Elder Scrolls game, and I've always enjoyed that playstyle a ton. I would also like to throw some stealth element in there as well, just because stealth has always been very, very fun in Elder Scrolls games for me, and it kind of like just tops off the character. I like to start every single combat situation where I'm the one that has the element of surprise come up and get that initial blow in. Yeah, casting spells, wearing heavy armor, and as far as the weapon sets go, I don't know. Normally I would say dual wielding, but I think everyone and their mother is going to be dual wielding, so maybe I'll go for a two-handed sword. I feel like dual wielding is the most
I think
popular.
you actually have that reversed, if I'm honest. I think two-hand is going to be one of the most popular ones, and then bow as well. So actually the two that I'm choosing would probably be two of the most popular weapons. But that's just based on what I've seen. So I don't know. What about race? Have you made that decision yet?
I'm still leaning towards the high elf just because the insane magicka bonus is very good for any sort of spellcasting class. And I have to say, this game is so heavy on its magicka. You know, every single class ability consumes magicka, doesn't it?
Classes, yes.
Yes. Your actual class abilities are always going to consume magicka. That's even if you're a Nightblade, which you think Nightblade, oh, I'm heavy with stamina, which, yes, you definitely want stamina. You want it for sneaking, you want it for using your physical weapons and stuff. But even the Nightblade, you know, your class abilities are going to consume magicka. So I have a feeling magicka is going to be a pretty powerful contender in this game. You know, we initially thought it was going to be stamina just because so many things go into stamina. You have weapon abilities that go into stamina. You have crouching that goes into stamina. What else goes into stamina? Running goes into stamina. So stamina definitely holds its own as well. But yeah, I want to get a lot of magicka in there.
Okay, one question I've seen about 15,000 times, and I'm actually interested on what we're going to do. Are we doing away with promotional messages from donations?
No, I don't see any reason why that should stop. That'll just carry over to the podcast that we start. So at the end of the podcast, we'll still have our list of sponsors and donations and any call outs there. I know that's a way a lot of people like to promote their guilds and their content, as well as just, you know, kicking some money in our direction to help us with the cast. So yeah, we'll definitely continue to do that. And everybody keeps their Adric or Daedric status as well. It's not all reset or something. We're not wiping the slate clean. It's pretty much going to the Shoddy podcast or whatever is going to be the successor to ESO Weekly.
I'm sure Mr. Jennings in the chat there is happy about that since he's sitting at #1 of our top contributors.
No one's going to come anywhere close anytime soon to touching how much Sterling Jennings has donated. Sterling Jennings has almost, I don't want to say single-handedly, but he has carried the ShoddyCast on his shoulders, especially, like, I don't know, in its first couple months he was donating. It's just, we depended on that so much for introducing our new shows. Oh my
god, okay, sorry to interrupt, but there's a name here that I actually like for the podcast, and it's called PoddyCast.
Wow. Wow, are we 5 years old? Are we
Not
5 years old?
PoddyCast, PoddyCast.
Oh, okay. I see.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that could work. Well, I saw another one that said ShoddyCast.
Well, that works
so
too.
if you really want to go that direction. By the way, funny story behind the whole ShoddyCast thing.
Oh man, this is going back.
ShoddyCast is the term apparently people like to use to bash the ShoddyCast, which I thought was super hilarious because ShoddyCast is already bashing the ShoddyCast in its own name. It's shoddy. It's worthless. Shitty is just the same thing as shoddy. But I don't know. That was a big thing, you know, especially our big whole controversial thing was with how set we were to have first person in the Elder Scrolls Online, which we totally got it. But yeah, we were being called ShoddyCast a lot, which I thought was very, very funny. Every time I see that, I crack a smile.
Now it goes towards how inaccurate our lore apparently is.
Yes, so it's kind of ironic, right? Because the lore series tries to prize itself on being polished and stuff, and so it's it's under the name ShoddyCast, so it's weird. But ESO Weekly still falls under the whole shoddy being, you know, it's crappy. What we do here.
ShodPod. How about that?
Yeah. ShodPod sounds pretty good.
The ShodPod.
Okay, I have a question here from 6 Ears. Question: did Josh pre-order ESO yet? No, I still haven't done that.
You really need to hurry. You need to like do it after this, like seriously, because they have a countdown. They have a count. Uh-oh, my video feed went away. They have a countdown on their Facebook, and it's like at day 5 now. So you better hurry up. And I'm not sure where my video went.
I don't know.
It's back now.
I'm really good at procrastinating when I want to do it. It's kind of comes naturally to me, so sorry. I'm definitely pre-ordering though. There's no way I'm missing that early access. There's no way I'm gonna do it. I'm just waiting to buy it with my friend. We're gonna pull the trigger at the same time and pre-order it. Another question here from, I think it was Aaron. it was the question was asking how long we plan on playing ESO after launch. And we have had this discussion before, but I don't think we've ever had it on an episode of ESO Weekly.
Actually, I
how
think we
long did we?
Yeah, I think we did.
I think we were streaming. We were
is that what it was?
Yes, we were live streaming. We had a big long discussion. So maybe you can sum it up. How long does Kyle think he's going to play The Elder Scrolls Online after launch?
Okay. Well, keep in mind, I've been playing this game for a year already, which is kind of funny when you think about it. Since March, I've been playing this game. Now, keep in mind, it wasn't like every day I was playing it. It would only be like when a beta test would come out until a few months ago when I was invited to the PTS. And then I've been playing it constantly. That said, I'm still very much interested in the game, and I think what's going to make it more interesting for me is now that all the progression I do actually matters, because it's not just going to be white constantly, you know? So that's going to make it new and refreshing for me, because now everything I do matters. To answer, though, I'm going to say if the game were utter crap and they didn't add anything else to it, like ever, I would say at least a few months I would probably still play it, at least to get to max level, and then a little bit after that I would get bored of the master dungeons and stuff. But since they promised the adventure zones coming out, Craglorn, the content that the constant patches they're going to be doing, I could be playing this for 6 months to a year at minimum, I would have to say. So that's my guesstimation, but it could be more.
Okay. And I feel a lot has to do with the community as well. You get a good guild, you get a good community of gamers, and that game could last forever. You know, I think it's interesting because a lot of people don't understand the concept behind a subscription MMO. You know, and why would I ever pay $15 a month just for a single game, just a singular game? And I definitely understand where that thought process comes from if you've never subscribed to an MMO that you were really into. But an MMO that does its job correctly, at least the MMOs that I've been addicted to, are the MMOs that have you coming back every single day. And it usually is the game that pretty much consumes your life for a couple months, in that it takes up all your free time. You don't need to spend money purchasing other games, because there's always this new content coming out for this game that you're already really into and your friends are really into, and so you're constantly just dipping into it again and again and again every day, and it's always a fun new experience every time you turn it on.
Well, you know what? You're already guaranteed to have a great guild because you're in the ShoddyCast with an E guild. So there you go.
Right. We're definitely gonna, and that's a whole nother thing. You know, we're gonna have a lot of big, huge, fun social community events that are gonna really be a blast, as well as some other events too, right, Kyle? Can you tell us a little bit about the developments with the ShoddyCast? I know you've been assembling some officers, and you're looking to do a bit more with the ShoddyCast than we originally anticipated.
Yes. So the past week or so, well, actually, it has started a couple months ago. We got officers together, so we're set on that. So we have a nice, wonderful crew of officers, at least 2 of which that are in the chat right now. That will start accepting applications to our guild, or at least our guild website, until the game goes live. That website you can visit either going through our website, ShoddyCast.com, which you'll see I had added a tab there so you can get to it through that way, or just go to it directly, which is ShoddyCast, again with an E at the end, .guildlaunch.com. That's the actual website. So you can go there, put in the website, put in your application. That should get accepted rather quickly. And then we'll start putting events in the calendar. We have a dedicated event coordinator who's looking through all the event ideas and setting that stuff up in correlation with us, of course. And we would like to host as many of those personally as we can. And most of those will also be streamed, so you may even see yourself in a stream or something like that. Neato, right? But yeah, we have lots of things planned, and we plan to... It's going to be a social guild mainly, but we are going to dabble in just about everything the game has to offer, be it PvE, PvP, eventually the adventure zones, even role-playing we're going to try to do as well. So, a lot of stuff to do in the ShoddyCast guild.
Right on, right on. Question: will you be able to play with people on the American servers? So I read this article recently. Did we bring it up in ESO Weekly already? That you can play in Europe apparently on an American server, on the American mega server, and there's little to no latency at all. They're saying that it's almost exactly the same as if you would play on a European server living in Europe.
Okay, so let's clarify a couple things. Yes, if you're like in Australia and you play on the NA, the North American server, they were saying that there was like little to no difference in lag between a person playing in Australia or a person playing in North America. There was like almost no difference whatsoever. So yes, that's one thing. Now another thing is you can choose to play on the North American server or the European server, but you can play on both if you want and make characters on each. And you don't have to have separate accounts for that. You can switch between. So if you were playing on the North American but find out your friends have been playing on the European, you can switch over to the European, no extra cost. But keep in mind, none of your characters can switch between the servers. Only your account can switch. But none of your characters, none of your progression, none of your items can switch between them.
Yeah. So make sure, this is something that everybody should be coordinating before the game even launches. Know where your friends are going to be at, where your guild's going to be playing. If you want to play with the ShoddyCast guild, yes, of course, we're on the North American server, so you can definitely do that. But yeah, I would just commit to a server and have your characters on there so that you can, freely trade between them and stuff. By the way, how does that work if I want to move items from one character to another in the game? Have they come up with something convenient for that yet?
Not quite.
Because last I heard, yeah.
Yeah, sadly, you can't just mail stuff to your character on your account. You can't do that for some reason. So you'll have to visit the nearest bank, which I guess is made easy since if you make a character, say you just want to make a mule character, that would mean that you already have a main character, so you've been through Cold Harbor, which means you can immediately get right into the main city once you've made that new character, because you can just pass up Cold Harbor and the and the starter zones. So you can be right there in the main town, head right over to the bank, and that can become a mule character. So there you got even more slots on that mule character. But then you also have, I think it's like, a 90 slot bank or something like that, or 70 slot bank. Again, to put stuff in there, and all your characters have access to that. So, I mean, it's not terribly inconvenient, but still, it would be nice if we could at least mail stuff back and forth just to make things quicker.
Okay, what is your here's a question from the only something something. What is your rating for ESO from 1 to 10? So on a scale from 1 to 10, what do you give ESO? This is not a loaded question.
Two different answers to that, because it depends on what perspective you're coming at it from. Okay, I'm an MMO player. Much more the MMO player than I am the Elder Scrolls player. What would I rate this game? I'm going to rate it higher and say it's probably a good 8 or 9, maybe even higher. I'll just say a 9, because it's a great MMO. Now, if I'm strictly the Elder Scrolls player and I'm coming at this game, my perspective is that of an Elder Scrolls player. So I'm looking at this, it doesn't have all those elements I expect an Elder Scrolls game to have, because at its core, this really isn't an Elder Scrolls game. So at that, I would have to rate it probably low at like a 6. Around there. So it's still a good game. It still is in the Elder Scrolls universe, but there still is a lot of stuff missing that the Elder Scrolls player is, like I said, is going to miss. So two different scores on an average. I guess, what is that, a 7.5 or something?
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I think you do have to look at it from multiple perspectives. The MMO player obviously is going to be more inclined to like this game because this game has been made first and foremost as an MMO. There's just no doubt about it. If you've played, especially as long as Kyle and I have, we've been in the beta for over a year now, the more you look at the game, the more you realize, yes, absolutely, it was made as an MMO first and foremost. But does that mean it's not a good MMORPG? Absolutely not. I've loved playing MMORPGs that have a serious stress on the RPG aspect. Lord of the Rings Online does very, very, very well with that. And, there's a lot of RP communities in the Lord of the Rings Online community as a result of that. I think there will be an RP community forming around the Elder Scrolls Online. I do think that they put enough into the game to where the RP community can have fun with all the emotes and all the things that the game has to offer. I do think there could have been more done. I would have loved this game to have been that game where, man, this is me living in an Elder Scrolls universe. And by that I mean, and this is something we've talked about since probably our second episode, Kyle, in-game houses would have been great. I would have loved an in-game home just like I had in Lord of the Rings Online.
Keep in mind,
and
it's
now
not written off. I mean, it could be a WoW promise, a Blizzard promise, but
right.
They said that's something they would definitely look into. So, we'll see.
Yes, we shall see. So speaking of missing features in the Elder Scrolls Online, what is your most asked for feature? What do you see from people the most? And then personally, what do you think for yourself is the missing feature you want?
Oh, Jesus. Put me on the spot.
Yeah, I love doing that.
Oh, boy. Even though I, at heart, am not the biggest Elder Scrolls fan, as much as I like it, I can't consider myself like a fanatic of the series. I would still have to say what I'm missing from it is that organic feel to it when you go out in the world. And I know I've used this before. You see things in the world like this person sitting there with a scroll. Sometimes not even that. They're dead there. There's some interesting things around them. And you kind of wonder, well, what happened to this person? And there's a lot of that in the game. You're just kind of like wondering what happened to this person. And I would love it if there were just quests that were tied into things like that around the world. So you would, stumble upon this and you could figure out what happened to this person. A lot of that, which you find in Skyrim and Oblivion, does that very well. So that's definitely something I find that is missing.
Yeah. With when the world tells the story, you feel it really come to life. And I think that's exactly what you nailed there. You know, when you're exploring those dungeons in Skyrim and Oblivion, you're coming across a cave that maybe doesn't even offer you a quest. It's not marked or anything, but you explore it and find out that it has a history or something particularly bad happened in here, and so you're picking up notes and figuring it out. That was always a big aspect and a lot of fun. That's not to say the Elder Scrolls Online doesn't have that. It does have it at times. It's just very, very sparse. One of the great times where I experienced kind of this spontaneous little bit of like story or just a random spontaneous event that happened to me was actually in Cyrodiil. And I think this happened to you as well, Kyle, so you can chime in here. I was running around just exploring Cyrodiil. I was running to each and every town. This was the first time I stepped foot back in Cyrodiil since I had played Oblivion, which being my first Elder Scrolls game, I was ready to feel the nostalgia. I wanted to go to Shadenhall. I wanted to go to Coral and Skingrad and see all of those towns. And as I was traveling around, I came across a chest, just this chest sitting next to a rock. And so I tried to loot this chest just like I would any other.
Okay, yes.
But these guys, these assassins or thieves or whatever, they had set it up as a trap apparently, and they popped out. The moment I went to loot this chest, they popped out and tried to kill me. I think you came across that too.
Yes, actually, except they were actually there already. I saw them. They were sitting there. But they just looked like they were digging it up themselves or something. But when I approached it, they all of a sudden got hostile. They were yellow until I approached them, and then they...
Oh, really?
Yeah, started tearing my ass up. So maybe that's something they changed or something, or maybe that's a separate instance somewhere else. But the other thing that I saw that was hilarious, and you saw this, I even put it in one of my videos, I think the PvP one. Do you remember when I was sitting there, I was just playing my loot, I was trying to get a nice background video to put for the credits or whatever of this video, and then that naked Nord, and no, not Road, but another naked naked Nord came out of this cabin that was in the background, and he's like, "Whoo, it's cold out there," and then he runs to the lake and he's going skinny dipping. I can't see him because I didn't want to move my camera, but I hear him in the background. He's like, "Oh, this is gonna be cold, it's windy." And then a few seconds later, he pops out and runs back across the screen again and says, "I think I'll try again later." And I'm like, oh my god, that is the most hilarious thing I've seen in this game. And out of nowhere, I had no clue that was there. And I'm just wondering how many things like that they've added to the game.
Yeah, that spontaneousness, I love it. And I was cracking up with you. You had me watch that. That was really, really funny. All right.
I just wanted to make sure if Grey Wolves has picked someone for us and has sent them the link to our chat here. Make sure anyone that does want to ask us questions via the actual stream chat voice thing. Make sure you have Hangouts already installed on your computer, otherwise it doesn't work. But yes, hopefully Grey Wolves will choose someone. He will send you the link via a PM on Twitch. Just follow that link, and that should throw you right into the call. In the meantime, I think we should pull in Sterling Jennings, which I'm wondering how I should do that.
Well, I know Sterling Jennings. I've seen him in the chat.
Yes.
So
I have to like find. Oh, there he is. Let's PM him. Message. Sterling, make sure you're checking your messages right now. Actually, some of you
if you guys
part of the link.
As you guys are joining and stuff, try to have a question ready for us or something, a topic we can discuss. That's why we're bringing you guys in here. We'd love to talk to you about the Elder Scrolls Online more specifically. So if you have a question, make sure to have it in the chamber and ready to go for us. That'd be great.
Let me make that go away. All right. Any more questions we got in here? Do you like the chat bar on the right of M? What is he talking about?
No. Okay, he's talking about the chat bar. At least I think. I don't know. He's talking about the chat bar in the bottom left-hand corner of the Elder Scrolls Online. Chat bar you see in every MMO. You know, it's how you're going to interact with people. I just hated having it there because it kept reminding me that, oh man, there's this big piece of MMO UI that I'm not used to in my Elder Scrolls games. I would like to shrink it. And I did. I shrinked it down to such a small size that it fits perfectly right there, and it doesn't really bug me anymore.
You know, you can also make it like slide into the side of the window, right? So it's barely visible at all.
Oh yeah, you can make it extremely small. I made it about one line big, so if somebody messaged me or something, I could see it for a second.
One single line, yeah. And plus, keep in mind, you can also shut off like different tabs as well. So if you don't want all chat open, you don't want zone chat, all those, you can shut all those off individually. So you can like just have PMs show up. So there's a lot of customization actually with their chat. So it's not that terrible. At least you can change some of it.
All right. So Sterling Jennings says, I didn't get crap, Kyle. You lie! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark!
I sent you the link. Don't say that I lied.
Liar.
Did Grey Wolves find anyone yet? Okay, yeah. He said he sent out one. For now. Dead air! Dead air! What do we do? What do we do?
Oh, that's fine. I don't even care anymore. When it's the last episode and we're just like...
That's true. You know, I don't give a fuck.
Whatever. I'm not wearing pants right now and I love it. I'm here. It's great. All right. There was a question. How long do you think until the game goes free to play? I think I'm going to rephrase that question. Do you think the game goes free to play, the Elder Scrolls Online?
No. Originally, I thought it would go free to play, like within 6 months to a year. So by the end of the year, I thought it would go. But based on their model and the sales they've had with this game, I honestly do not think it's going to go free to play. I think they're going to stick to their whole, oh, we don't want pay gates in our game.
Yeah.
So much for that. Yeah, they don't want to have to like start charging you for content while in the game. They don't want like some dialogue box to pop up or something like that. So I honestly just don't think it's going to go free to play ever.
What's your favorite? Let me just ask in general. What's your favorite MMO pay model? I loved what Guild Wars 2 did. Guild Wars 2 is free to play. They charge for cosmetic items and things like that, but you pay for the box, you have the game, and Guild Wars 2 does extremely well. They introduce content all the time. I think MMORPG rated them as the top MMO for introducing new patches and new content. And I think that's hilarious that the MMO that's on top is the MMO that's freaking free monthly.
True,
if that doesn't speak volumes, then I don't know what does.
Okay, we do have someone in the call named Jack Vex. So
hey guys.
Oh, there he is. Hello.
Sorry.
There's Jack.
Hey.
I'm getting Jack really, really loud in my ears. I don't know about
sorry,
you guys.
sorry guys.
I can turn him down. It's cool. Go ahead.
All right.
Can you turn?
Thank you. All right. All right, cool.
All right.
So
Jack, welcome. You are, hey, let's just take a second right here. You are the first ever guest on ESO Weekly. Jack, how do you feel right now?
Oh, well, I feel quite frankly fantastic. And your show is amazing, guys. I love all your ESO, love your lore. Everything's fantastic. It's all good. It's all good.
Jack, welcome to the team. It's great to have you here. Do you have a question for us?
Well, I mostly wanted to talk about PvP.
Okay.
All right.
Because, 1 second, guys. Be right back. Mom, 1 second, alright?
That's
Classic.
perfect.
1 second. Alright.
That's our 13 to 15-year-old demographic. They make up 16% of our channel. That's okay.
Yeah. So PvP, because I thought it was really fun when I started playing the beta for for a few hours because it didn't download properly on my computer, so I went to my friend's house. But yeah, so it was really fun, but at some points, because when they said that you could have 200 people on screen at one time, I found that was possible. But then at points you didn't know who was on your team and who wasn't. It was very confusing. And I was just wondering if they would make that clearer or something, because it was because whenever you looked at someone, it was red or not. It doesn't pop up or in the distance
right.
or
Yeah, that is, and I found that same problem too, at least when I played PvP for the first time, because I'm used to games like World of Warcraft where you got the name bars above their heads, and enemies are extremely easy to identify because they're labeled in red. Kyle, do you have anything to say to that?
Well, keep in mind, by default, anyone that's an enemy in PvP in Cyrodiil, you will see one of the other two alliances' icons above their head.
Yeah.
So by default, you'll see that. So you'll know right away. Now, that's not to say if they're really far off, you won't know until they are somewhat close to you. Then that icon pops up. So it's possible you think you're running towards a friendly. You find out, oh, they got a symbol above their head, and all of a sudden you're turning around and running the other direction. I think that's actually on purpose, though.
Yeah, because that's exactly what happened to me a few times, but yeah.
Because keep in mind, in the real world, if you were fighting, if you were so far off, you might not be able to tell if they were friendly or not until you got to a specific distance from them. Then you would easily be able to tell, oh, shit, that's an enemy. So I think it's probably just that's their design feature, and I think it's a pretty good one. And also keep in mind, though, just to make people more noticeable out in the world, you can turn on the health bars for enemies. So that's one other thing you can do just to make them more noticeable.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Very, very good question, Jack. Thank you very much. Now, do we want to keep people keep them in here, or just have one call at a time?
Yeah,
what do you think would be
we'll have to give them the boot.
Well, it's fine. I have to go eat dinner anyways. I just wanted to mention can I mention my YouTube channel in here, or is that not all right? Or
do it, man. Go for it.
Right.
Whore yourself out.
Right.
No shame.
It's the only Cochini Vex. Go check us out. We do some gaming. We're definitely gonna do some ESO when it comes out. So yeah, thanks guys. Love your show and everything. And yeah, hope you can boot me now if you want.
All right. See you later, man. Okay, we have someone else in the call. Sterling Jennings. I think it's Sterling Jennings himself in the flesh.
It is.
Oh, there he is. How's it going, man?
How's it going, guys?
There he is.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello.
All right, yes. I think your volume's all good, and you're using your face cam. Excellent, excellent. Sterling Jennings, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know him, you should. He has been around pretty much since ESO Weekly's inception, So, Sterling Jennings, welcome. Do you have a question for us today?
Oh, God. Why are you guys so awesome? I don't know. Sure. You know what? I sent in one while you guys were having this massive wall of text spam the chat, so I'll say it now for you. Do you guys think that ESO has focused too much on PvP? They've put a lot of eggs in one basket with it, and I'm wondering, since there is a half and half pretty much demographic when it comes to this game, do you guys think the PvE hardcore raiders are going to be left out for a few patches until they really get Craglorn, up and running?
Yeah. As much as it pains me to say, I think you nailed it when you said they put too many eggs in one basket. The Elder Scrolls Online, at least what I'm told, is that it's the spiritual successor of Dark Age of Camelot, which I haven't actually played personally, but I know people who have played it. Andrew of Tamriel Foundry, and that game was known for its PvP. PvP was the thing to do in that game. And when ZeniMax was building their team at ZeniMax Online Studios, all their leads appear to be, anyway, people that have worked on the Dark Age of Camelot. Mm-hmm. So as a result, you're getting people who are developing a game that is focused on PvP, and that's what you see in the Elder Scrolls Online, no doubt about it. I think they shouldn't have maybe developed only PvP as much as they did. I do think they should have spread their eggs out a bit more, not having a real end game raider sort of gameplay at the end. Adventure zones were supposed to be in the game at launch, but are no longer. It's going to be coming in an upcoming patch. You need to have content there, especially if you're an MMO, for the, end game hardcore raiders. MMOs have been pretty much built on the end game hardcore raiders. World of Warcraft is a very popular MMO because of a big group of people partake in that and pay their subscription fees every month to come back for more of it. It's tough to not have that at launch for people, and people are going to be reaching that end game really, really fast. Just to add something about the whole Adventure Zones thing, Craglorn testing will be starting within the first week of launch on the PTS, so I'll actually be testing it before all of you. Oh wait, okay, so what? Craglorn is the full big old Adventure Zone with all the dungeons in them?
Yep.
That was the map we were looking at, correct? Yep. Okay.
So I'll be testing that within the week of the launch, so that'll be good.
Did we get any sort of time, like when it's going to be released in its first month, 2 months?
They said when they actually announce the details about the actual zone, they'll also be releasing information about when we can expect it to come out. Now, I have a question for Sterling.
Oh, shit.
How big is that tattoo you have? Because I know people are asking about it.
I actually have 5 tattoos, and this one is my whole chest. You see a little bit of nipple here, if you like.
Nipple action. There we go.
Yeah, I got, another one on my chest on this side, and then I got one on my ribs that takes up my full ribs. And then I have one on my shoulder, and then one on my back on the shoulder blade.
Here I thought I was a badass with my, half of my back is tattooed up and half my arm, but no. He had to go and outdo me.
Hey, it's a passion of mine. I draw my own tattoos, so I like to, have my personal tattoo artist back home. He inks me up every time I go home, so it's pretty fun.
Very cool.
So, are there any stories behind any of them? I know you're in the Marines, correct?
I am in the Marine Corps. Yeah.
Excellent.
It sucks.
Were any of those a dare or something? I don't know. I figure a Marine tattoo. It sounds right.
No, all of them were out of my own need for violating my own skin. So, I mean, my first one was my Marine Corps tattoo. Everybody gives me shit for it because they're like, "Oh, you're motivated," and it's like, no. It's just something, a little piece of my life that I like to have on there. So there was that, and then this one is my family crest that I have on here. I'm Irish.
Oh man,
and stuff. So I have that on there.
Our family's not important enough.
Exactly. I'm so jealous of that. I went to this Scottish festival a couple weeks ago with some friends, and a couple of them got to march with their clans, and they had clan banners and stuff like that. Yeah. My ancestors were a bunch of Italian pig farmers, and so I don't really have anything epic like that.
Yeah,
I want some. That would be cool.
Yeah, mine were Irish royal bodyguards for the king. So. So I guess that was pretty cool. I guess. Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, it's pretty damn cool. It is pretty damn cool. So as we're waiting to get somebody else in the call here, Sterling Jennings, why don't you tell us? You've been following the Elder Scrolls Online, I think, as long as we have, if not longer. I'm sure. I mean, we've been here for months and months, a year now. How do you feel it's progressed? You've had a chance to play in the beta and everything, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I followed you guys since 21 Reasons, and honestly, the reason why I've actually started watching or looking for ESO information was because me and my friend sat drunk one night in his room going, we should play Skyrim together. Let's find a mod that has a multiplayer mod. And we couldn't find anything, but ESO kept popping up, so that's where it all started. That's where my dedication and following became of it. But as for developing, I mean, from what I've heard, obviously I didn't get to test in the alpha, you know, and seeing the super early models on, but from what I've heard from that, it's progressed a lot from there. It's gone back and forth from being a good game to a flop to it's going free to play, it's going pay to win, it's going pay for subscription. I mean, from now, it's polished being. I have a few issues with it being so buggy at the moment, but obviously I'm hoping that will be buffered out before launch. Crossing my fingers on that. But
yeah.
But the game as a whole is really developed, and it's surprising how much ZeniMax has actually listened to its audience, and that's a good thing, and that was what makes me hopeful for the future for it. So sure. I think it'll be good. I definitely give it a 9. So I'm more of a MMO player myself, but you know, as a Elder Scrolls fanboy as well, you know, I think it does it justice for what it is and what they had the ability to do with it. So I will give it a good score there.
All right, yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of the opinions of people who have been in the beta for any extended period of time. I feel like those people probably have more of an appreciation for what the Elder Scrolls Online has become, just because we all have been able to see that progression and that, okay, ZeniMax is listening to the fan feedback. In this new patch of the beta, they're adding this, and this, and you're actually able to see that evolution. And that's the sort of evolution that's not going to stop when the game launches as well, because we're going to get patches, because we're paying that $15 a month, we're going to see all that. So it's going to be fun to see the game evolve in the coming months as well as a result. All right, so...
A note on the whole bug thing. I know they mentioned this, I can't remember where I read it, but it was on one of the recent articles. They were saying that most of the bugs were coming down to 3 issues they had, and they didn't list what they were, but they said that they had fixed those 3 issues. So hopefully, and they said they were like server issues, so hopefully that'll address a lot of them. I know many of the bugs you can kind of get around if you log out or just completely exit out of the game and go back in. But yeah, it would suck to have to constantly do that, which I have had to do.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Now, when you guys mention bugs, I have to ask, because I honestly haven't come across a bug myself. If I'm being honest, I'm not playing the beta as much as somebody like Kyle or you guys maybe. But what kind of bugs are these? Are these game-breaking? Are these the sort of bugs that stop my progression in a quest line?
Very much so,
yes. Me personally, I think I've been getting the most of NPCs for quests not spawning.
Yes.
So that's probably the most annoying.
They were saying it usually happened when there were a lot of people in the same area as you.
Yeah,
so maybe it was a resource issue. So maybe the server just didn't have enough resources in that area to actually spawn that NPC. So hopefully, yes, that sort of issue will be resolved, or has already been.
I'm hoping.
Hang on. All right, Sterling Jennings, my friend, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you turning out. A man who has been with us since the beginning.
He still will be in the ShoddyCast Guild. He's an officer.
Amen.
All right, excellent.
I'll let you guys go. Have a good one. I'll be listening.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Bad.
Catch you later.
Bye.
All right, so our next caller goes by the name of Logan, I think. Logan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Logan, welcome to the cast. You are now our 3rd guest. Congratulations. Do you have a question for us?
Yes, and thank you. It's so good to be here, and I've been watching your videos for a long time, and it's nice to finally meet you guys.
Yeah, well, it's nice
to meet you.
I was just gonna say, it's nice to meet you guys. I gotta say, it's super, super weird right now. Up until this point, you guys have been pretty much phantoms on the internet, just these virtual presences, and to see your actual faces and get to talk with you, it's very interesting, very cool.
Yeah.
And let me just say, sorry to interrupt. I just said I felt like I should be saying the Pledge of Allegiance right now. looking in the background.
Oh yeah, nice curtains.
Yeah, I'm kind of patriotic.
I can see that. That's good though.
Yeah, I had a question about combat. Do you think you'll be able to fight while you're mounted on a horse? And do you think that's something they could add in eventually?
Okay. Well, we know currently that's not in the game. If I had to guess, I would say that is most likely not going to be included in the game. But of course, I can't speak for the developers, whether or not they will eventually do that. But keep in mind, Skyrim also launched without mounted combat. That was something that was added after they already had mods for that sort of thing. So it's something eventually we could see, but if I was a betting man, which I am, I would say no. It's not gonna be a thing.
Okay. And I know you guys are mainly PC gamers, but I was wondering if you would ever have a presence on the consoles, like eventually. Like, I know you guys played Skyrim on the consoles, but would you ever eventually play ESO on the consoles?
Currently, right now, we only have a 360. We have not dipped into the next-gen thing at all, just because, like you said, we're primarily PC gamers, and that's what we do. I don't know, Kyle. Do you see getting a console anytime soon?
No, because I'm just not a console gamer. That's not my shtick. So
yeah, well now Steam's coming out apparently with some sort of
Steam
streaming box. Yeah, where I can just get my computer games right onto my television, so I can have that living room type experience. But I don't know. The only way I would see getting a console to play The Elder Scrolls Online on is just to have that relaxed. I'm sitting back with a controller on the couch and chilling. Because right now, for whatever reason, ZeniMax does not have controller support for the PCs, which I hope they get on that. I do like the controller in my hands a lot better than a keyboard and mouse, if I'm not playing competitively and I'm just, chilling.
And they won't be, by the way. They've already confirmed that they won't be doing any kind of support for that. That's not to say that third-party software won't be available at launch for that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, Logan, are you playing on a console then for The Elder Scrolls Online?
Well, I participated in a few betas, and I started out gaming on a console, and I never really switched to PC. I know there are advantages to both, but yeah, I got the Xbox One, and I'm really liking it, so I've already pre-ordered it for Xbox One.
All right, cool. So, do you plan on playing both PC then and console, or are you just looking at the Xbox One?
I think that I will eventually go to PC, but I'm going to be primarily on the console.
On the console. All right, cool. It'll be interesting to see how that experience goes for you guys on the console. I don't know. I've never ever even thought of playing an MMO on the console before, but it's been done. It's certainly possible. All right. So, Logan, thank you so much for joining us, man. We're going to take our next caller here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace for America. All right, so our next caller here goes by the name of Ethan, has a very interesting, very creepy profile picture. Ethan, welcome to the cast.
Yo, what's up, ShoddyCast?
Yeah, that's right, some enthusiasm. I like that. So, do you have a question for us today?
I've got about 3 questions that all kind of tie in with each other. I was wondering, 1, do you think they're planning on adding any new weapons to the game and more skill lines?
I believe so. I know they've even been asking, they've been going as far as to ask people for ideas of weapons they would like to see eventually. So I definitely think at some point they will be adding other weapons, and that would mean new skill lines. And I definitely think that's something else they'll be adding is extra skill lines. Hopefully necromancy, fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully.
But I definitely think so for both, that they will eventually add that kind of stuff.
Alright. Another one is, I was a little curious if in their cash shop, if they would eventually add any sort of weapon sheath kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
A weapon sheath?
Yeah.
Please elaborate for us.
Well, if you had a great sword, you could buy let's say the Dragon Knight sheath, or the Imperial sheath, and it would go over the sword when it's on your back, or something like for the axe, it'd have like that hatchet kind of leather pouch for it.
Okay,
Something
yeah.
like
I think that's an interesting question, just because I think there's no sort of sheath. I'm trying to think, Kyle. When you put a two-handed sword over your back, it's just sitting there as a sword, no sheath or anything, right?
Right.
Now in Skyrim, they had sheaths. They had weapon sheaths.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Honestly, if they do add sheaths, it better not be just an option in a cash shop, because that will piss so many people off if they do that. Because again, they're already getting shit for having a cash shop along with the subscription fee. So yeah, that would just, people would be flipping tables and crap over that. So I really hope they don't.
Wish my webcam was working so I could show you how I do my air quotes.
Well, I'm enjoying your cat anyways.
Yeah.
Are you though?
It's like
Okay.
a Nicolas
I can
Cage
see
cat thing.
Oh, is that who it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Nicolas Cage's face on a cat.
It's creepy.
That's excellent. That's brilliant. Something you'd only find on the internet.
Oh yeah.
All right. And then was there a third question?
I think that was about it.
That was about it?
It was
All right.
great getting to meet you guys. Been watching your show since like the second episode of ESO Weekly. Long time.
Excellent. Long-time listener. Well, thank you so much for turning out, and we hope to see you on the shoddy pod or the potty shot or whatever the hell we're calling
Shot
it.
pod.
I would really like to get a chance to get into the guild somehow. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but it'd be
Be
great to see.
on PC, Aldmeri Dominion, North American server, you should have a fairly good shot.
Check, check, check.
Yeah. All right, Ethan. Well, thanks for turning out, man, and we'll hopefully talk to you another time.
Yeah. See you guys later.
Laters.
Yeah, so a quick question as we're waiting for the next caller here, Kyle. What is the cap currently on guilds as far as members?
Unknown. Because in the PTS right now, I'm in a guild with almost 500 members, so that 300 member thing is apparently not a thing.
Oh, good. Hopefully
But I don't
they
know what
just
the actual
lifted
cap
that.
is. I don't know.
I don't know. A cap would be okay to me as long as you explain why we have to have it. You know, is it limitations of the server? Like, what are your reasons?
That
I
was
never
the reason
understood.
they gave before.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's weird. I don't know. Of course, I don't know how the hell any technology works. So.
Well, while we're waiting on someone else to come in, should we talk about the API changes they've made to ESO and how that's affecting mods?
Sure. Let's go ahead and talk about that real quick.
Okay, well, recently they made changes to the API, which is basically just what information people can access and then make mods to utilize that information. And right now, they have really restricted the API just recently, a couple weeks ago, if that. And it's really reduced the usefulness of the current mods that are already out there, like the Foundry tactical combat thing. So it's interesting to see if they'll dial that back at all, or if they're just going to leave it exactly how it is. I honestly hope that they do change that, though, because the way it's set now, the only thing it really does is add some graphical changes. And I know people are going to want to see more out of modding than that.
Yeah.